We could have sent him an email telling him to call, Arch protested. If he only had what all his pals had, to wit, internet access watches. Your own watch could have told you what time it was, I told him, when I picked him up from the country club estate where the senior who was supposed to drive him home had left him off. Arch ignored me. These new friends, he'd announced glumly, also had global positioning system calculators, model bazillion Palm Pilots, and electric acoustic guitars that cost $800 and up. These litanies were always accompanied with not-so-tactful reminders that his 15th birthday was right around the corner. He wanted everything on his list, he announced, as he tucked a scroll of paper into my purse. After all, with all the parties I'd booked, I could finally afford to get him some really good stuff. And no telling what'll happen if I don't get what I want, he'd added darkly. Marla informed me that he'd already given her a list. I'd shrugged as Arch clopped into the house ahead of me. I'd started stuffing sautéed chicken breasts with wild rice and spinach. The next day, Tom had picked up Arch at another friend's house. When my son waltzed into the kitchen, I almost didn't recognize him. His head was shaved. "They bicked me," he declared, tossing a lime into the air and catching it in the net of his lacrosse stick. "They bicked you?" I exclaimed incredulously. "Bick, Mom, like the razor?" He rubbed his bare scalp, then flipped the lime again. "And I would have been home on time if you'd bought me the palm to remind me to tell the guy shaving my head that I had to go." I snagged the lime in midair. "Go start on your homework, Buster. You got a C on the last anatomy test, and from now on, either Tom or I pick you up right from practice." On his way out of the kitchen, he whacked his lacrosse stick on the floor. I called after him, please not to do that. I got no reply. The next day, much to Arch's sulking chagrin, Tom had picked him up directly from practice. "If being athletic is what success at school looks like," Tom told me, "then maybe Arch should take up painting." I kept mum. The next day I was ashamed to admit I'd pulled out Arch's birthday list and bought him the Palm Pilot. Call it working mom's guilt, I'd thought, as I stuffed tiny cream puffs with shrimp salad. Still, I was not sorry. I was making more money than ever before. I did not regret that Goldilocks Catering, where everything is just right, had gone from booked to overbooked. Finally, I was giving those caterers in Denver 40 miles to the east a run for their shrimp rolls. This is what I'd always wanted. Right? Take my best upcoming week, I'd explained to Marla, as she moved on to test my cheesecake bars and raspberry brownies. The second week of April, I would make close to $10,000, a record. I'd booked an upscale cocktail party at Westside Mall, a wedding reception, and 2 big luncheons. Once I survived all that, Friday, April the 15th, was Arch's birthday. By then, I'd finally have the cash to buy him something, as Arch himself had said, really good. "Goldy, don't do that," Marla warned, as she downed one of my new Spice of Life cookies. The buttery cookies featured large amounts of ginger, cinnamon, and freshly grated nutmeg, and were as comforting as anything from Grandma's kitchen. "You'll be too exhausted even to make a birthday cake. Listen to me now. You need to decrease your bookings, hire some help, be stricter with Arch, and take care of yourself for a change. If you don't, you're going to die." Marla was always one for the insightful observation. I didn't listen. At least, not soon enough. The time leading up to that lucrative week in April became even busier and more frenetic. Arch occasionally slipped away from practice before Tom, coming up from his investigative work at the sheriff's department, could snag him. I was unable to remember the last time